The story of the three wise men. In the still depths of an ancient night, beneath a sky scattered with countless glittering stars, three wise men stood atop a marble tower in the distant east. These were men of learning and wisdom, who had spent their lives studying the great mysteries written in scrolls of parchment. And in the very heavens above, their long robes rustled softly in the evening breeze as they gazed upward, their eyes reflecting the starlight like pools of deep understanding. The air was cool and sweet with the scent of night-blooming flowers that grew in the palace gardens far below. Each breath seemed to draw in not just air, but the very essence of anticipation. For months they had watched the celestial dance of stars and planets, noting every subtle change in their eternal patterns. Their careful observations had revealed something extraordinary, a sign they had long awaited. There, rising in the western sky, shone a star unlike any they had seen before. Its light held a quality that spoke of divine purpose, a gentle yet compelling radiance that drew their gaze like a beacon of hope. This was no ordinary celestial body, but a herald of something momentous, a cosmic announcement written in light across the darkened heavens. In their wisdom, these learned men understood the profound significance of what they witnessed. Ancient prophecies had spoken of such a sign, whispers passed down through generations of scholars and sages. This star proclaimed the birth of a king, but not just any earthly ruler. This was the promised one, whose coming had been foretold in sacred texts preserved through countless ages. The eldest of the wise men traced a pattern in the air with his finger, following the star's path westward. His companions nodded in silent understanding, their hearts already preparing for the journey that lay ahead. They knew the road would be long and challenging, yet their spirits lifted with the joy of holy purpose. They would follow this celestial guide to whatever destination it revealed. In the days that followed, preparations began with thoughtful care. The wise men gathered their most precious treasures, gifts worthy of the king they sought. Golden vessels caught the light like captured sunbeams, their surfaces etched with ancient patterns. Fragrant frankincense, stored in delicate containers, released hints of its sweet aroma with each gentle movement. Precious myrrh, dark and mysterious, spoke of deeper meanings yet to be revealed. Their caravan assembled in the cool hours before dawn, when the air held the last whispers of night. Servants moved with quiet efficiency, securing precious cargo onto the backs of patient camels. The gentle giants swayed as they rose, their movements smooth and graceful despite their size. Soft bells tied to their harnesses chimed like distant temple music with each measured step. As the sun lifted its golden face above the horizon, the procession began its westward journey. The wise men rode at the front, their expressions serene with purpose. Behind them stretched a line of attendants and supply bearers, all necessary for the long journey ahead. The morning light painted everything in shades of amber and rose, blessing their departure with celestial beauty. Days flowed into weeks as they followed the star's guidance, through vast deserts where sand stretched like a golden sea to touch the horizon. Their days were measured by the sun's arc across the sky, their nights by the stellar map above. Always, that special star led them onward, its light a constant companion in the evening hours. The rhythm of travel became a kind of moving meditation. The steady sway of the camels, the soft crunch of sand beneath padded feet, the whisper of wind across dunes, all blended into a peaceful symphony of journey. In the evening hours, they would gather around glowing fires, sharing wisdom and dreams while the stars wheeled overhead in their eternal dance. As they journeyed westward, the landscape gradually transformed. Harsh desert sands gave way to rolling hills clothed in gentle greens and browns. The air grew softer, carrying hints of distant seas and mountain heights. Villages appeared more frequently along their path, their inhabitants pausing in their daily tasks to watch the impressive caravan pass by. At last, the towers of Jerusalem rose before them, gleaming white against the blue canvas of sky. The ancient city stood as a testament to centuries of faith and tradition, its walls embracing temples and palaces, markets and homes. Here, surely, they would find the newborn king whose star had guided them so far. Their arrival caused a gentle stir within the city gates. The sight of such distinguished visitors, clearly from distant lands, drew curious but respectful gazes. Their rich robes and dignified bearing spoke of wisdom and importance, while the valuable caravan trailing behind them hinted at a significant purpose. They made their way to Herod's palace, where marble columns rose like ancient trees reaching toward heaven. The king received them with elaborate courtesy, though something in his manner spoke of hidden thoughts, like shadows moving beneath still waters. His eyes held an unsettling gleam as he listened to their quest, though his words flowed smooth as honey. In the privacy of his council chamber, Herod consulted his own wise men, scholars who knew the ancient prophecies. These learned men spoke of Bethlehem, a small town just a few miles from Jerusalem. Their voices carried the weight of centuries of sacred texts as they recited the prophecy, words that seemed to hang in the air like precious gems. A ruler would come from Bethlehem, one whose origins were from ancient times. Departing from Jerusalem in the gentle light of early evening, the wise men felt a renewed sense of purpose. The star that had guided them so faithfully appeared once more, its light somehow brighter and more compelling than before. As they journeyed the short distance to Bethlehem, their hearts were light with the knowledge that their long quest was nearing its end. Bethlehem rested upon its hillside like a pearl set against dark velvet. Evening lamps began to flicker in windows, creating a warm welcome in the gathering dusk. The streets wound their way up and down the slopes, telling stories of countless generations who had walked these same paths. Somewhere within this humble town lay the object of their search. The star moved before them with divine purpose, its light seeming to gather and focus like a celestial lantern. Through narrow streets they followed, their camels padding softly on the well-worn stones. The evening air carried the mingled scents of cooking fires and garden herbs, of cedar wood and fresh bread, of life being lived in its quiet, ordinary ways. At last the star came to rest above a modest dwelling, its light cooling like liquid silver in the courtyard. Here was no palace, No grand temple, but a simple home where a young family had settled after the census crowds had thinned. The contrast between the simplicity of the scene and the majesty of their quest touched something deep within the wise men's hearts. They dismounted with careful dignity, their movements measured and reverent. From their caravan, servants brought forth the precious gifts they had carried so far. The gold caught starlight and reflected it like captured flames. The frankincense containers released subtle hints of sweetness, and the myrrh spoke its deep, mysterious perfume into the evening air. As they approached the humble doorway, the wise men felt the weight of centuries of prophecy and promise settling around them like an invisible mantle. The door opened to their gentle knock, spilling warm lamplight into the courtyard. There stood Mary, her face gentle with maternal grace, holding in her arms the child they had traveled so far to find. The moment stretched like honey dripping from a comb, sweet and rich with holy significance. Here, in this small room warmed by a simple oil lamp, they found themselves in the presence of divine mystery made flesh. The child looked at them with eyes that seemed to hold wisdom deeper than the seas, while his tiny hands reached out with the pure innocence of new life. One by one, they knelt before the child, their robes pooling around them like shadows in the lamplight. Their hearts overflowed with quiet joy as they presented their gifts, each one heavy with meaning. Gold gleamed in the soft light, a tribute fit for a king. Frankincense released its sweet perfume, acknowledging the divine nature of this child. Myrrh, precious and bitter, hinted at deeper purposes yet to unfold. Mary received each gift with graceful humility, her eyes soft with wonder at these precious offerings. Joseph stood nearby, his strong hands gentle as he helped unwrap each treasure. The child watched it all with peaceful interest, accepting their homage as naturally as he accepted his mother's love. In his presence, all the wisdom they had gathered through years of study seemed to bow before a greater truth. Time flowed like a gentle stream in that humble room, carrying them in its peaceful current. They shared tales of their journey, of the star that had guided them, of ancient prophecies and celestial signs. Mary listened with quiet attention, storing these words in her heart like precious jewels. The evening deepened around them, wrapping them in a cocoon of sacred peace. That night, as the wise men rested in the peaceful depths of sleep, dreams came to them like gentle messengers. The dreams whispered warnings of Herod's hidden intentions, revealing the darkness that lurked beneath his courteous facade. With the same wisdom that had led them to follow the star, they understood these dreams as divine guidance, protecting both them and the precious child they had found. When morning painted the eastern sky with rose and gold, they prepared for departure. Their path would lead them home by a different route, avoiding Jerusalem and its troubled king. They bid farewell to the Holy Family with deep reverence, their hearts full of the wonder they had witnessed. The memory of the child's face would travel with them, a light brighter than any star. As they journeyed homeward across distant lands, they carried more than just memories. They had become part of an eternal story, witnesses to the moment when heaven touched earth in the form of a child. Their lives had been transformed by this encounter, their wisdom deepened by mysteries that transcended all their learning. In the years that followed, they shared their story with careful wisdom, speaking of the star that had guided them, of the king they found in a humble home, of the gifts they had presented. Their tale became part of the greater narrative, a testament to how divine purpose often works through unexpected paths and humble circumstances. And now, let us ponder the gentle wisdom of these ancient seekers. Like them, we too are on a journey, following the light of truth that beckons us forward. Their story reminds us that wisdom often requires us to travel beyond our familiar boundaries, to bow before truth when we find it. Even in unexpected places, they teach us that the greatest treasures are not always found in palaces, that divine presence often dwells in simple moments and humble spaces. Their journey shows us that true wisdom includes both the courage to seek and the humility to kneel when we find what we seek. Sometimes, like them, we must be willing to take different paths than we planned, listening to the quiet voice of guidance in our hearts.